Hello, I'm Beverly Thompson. Welcome to City Life, dedicated to keeping you informed on Durham's important news and events. If you own property in downtown Durham, would you be willing to pay an additional tax for a better looking downtown? Today we're going to take a look at what is called a Business Improvement District, or BID, to explore what this would mean for downtown if it is approved by City Council this spring. Joining me now to talk about why Downtown Durham Incorporated is proposing this concept is DDI President Bill Kalkhof. Welcome, Bill, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Beverly, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, Bill, let's just get started right off the bat with your description of a BID, or Business Improvement District, is.
You know, one of the things that has crossed my mind over the last several weeks while we've been talking to the public about the concept of a business improvement district is it probably really should be named a downtown improvement district or a community improvement district, because it's about much more than just businesses in downtown. The business improvement district has been the name given to it over the past decades by many other cities. But in generally, the idea is that property owners, both real and personal property owners, in a defined geographic area will say to the public sector, in this case the City Council, please place an additional tax on my property, and we'd like that tax to be used specifically in our geographic area to make quality of life improvements in that area so that we can improve investment in downtown, create more jobs, continue tax base growth, etc.
Well, what is the area that you're looking at for the proposed bill?
Generally, what we're proposing to the City Council would be an area that on the north would be the area right around the old ballpark, Durham Central Park area. On the south, it would be the new ballpark and the freeway. On the east, it would be Golden Belt. And on the west, it would be Brightleaf Square, ending right at Buchanan Street, Duke's East Campus.
Okay, that's a pretty broad area.
So actually, it's real interesting. It's actually less than a square mile. It's actually about 0.75 or 0.78 square miles. So it's quite a confined area.
Okay, all right. Well, how did you go about choosing that area? How did you define that?
Well, Downtown Durham Inc., when it was became operational back in 1994, we adopted the downtown boundaries that the City Council and County Commission had set are the official boundaries of downtown, and we've continued to work in that area since that time. Over the years, the planning department has tweaked the boundaries of downtown, so it's been generally in the area I just described. So we've always stayed focused in that area, and the bid is still, approximately the same area we've always worked in.
Well, let's just talk about bids in general. Is it a new concept, or has it been around for a while?
Actually, it's been around for decades, and many other cities across the country have it. Durham is the 85th largest city in the country, and 92% of those 85 cities have bids, so we're one of the only ones who don't. There are actually over 2,000 bids in the country in 1,200 different cities, and they have been around for decades. In North Carolina, there actually are 51 bids as we speak now. Really, the only major cities without bids are Winston-Salem, Wilmington, and Durham, and all three of us are now looking at those concepts as we speak.
Okay. Why then are you proposing it for downtown Durham?
The typical stuff would be, enhancing, the quality of life in downtown, generating more business, growing a tax base. But I think it really gets back to me, is we have come a long way in Durham, particularly downtown, in the last 10 years. And we have much to be proud of. When I say we, I'm using the we of the city, the county, the nonprofit sector, the DDIs, the private sector, etc. That's the we, and we can be proud of what we've done. We've still got a long way to go, and we need to be positioning ourselves for the next decade. And with the cutback in revenues for local government and their ability or inability to provide day in and day out services. The concern of Downtown Durham Inc. For downtown, and therefore for all of Durham, is will we slide back without some new model? And so we want to make sure we bring a public-private partnership to the table that really continues to grow downtown, which is a benefit to all of our community, and keeps us competitive with all these cities across the country which already have and have had bids for years.
Now, I heard you describe the level of service. Is it a higher level of service or the service in general that you would be able to enhance?
The reason I smile is one of, I don't know whether it's the blessing or the curse of our job and my colleagues at Downtown Durham Inc., but we certainly hear day in and day out about the things that DDI and the city and the county are doing well. We also hear often what needs to be done better. And I guess from a personal perspective and that of, I would speak for the Downtown Durham Inc. board, while I think the city is doing a much better job of day in and day out services in downtown related to appearance and safety, it is not at the level we think is adequate, moving us to the next level over the next decade. And therefore, we really are looking for an organizational model, a business improvement district, to be able to provide an enhanced level of services to not only keep us competitive, but to keep us competitive in a way that continues to grow downtown.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the revitalization efforts that would take place with the money that would be collected with the bid. What else would happen? Additional marketing or promotion of downtown?
I think, you know, right now, probably a lot of your viewers think DDI has a very large budget. We do not. We have a budget each year of about $450,000, so we are limited in what we can do. Certainly a bid will dramatically increase the resources that we will be able to place into downtown revitalization. We will continue to do what we have been doing over all the years, which is economic development, marketing, promotion, issues related to appearance and special events, and public advocacy, helping businesses navigate the regulatory process, recruiting businesses to downtown, putting development deals together with the private sector and the public sector. We will simply have more resources to do more of that. But in addition, I think the big addition a business improvement district brings to downtown is a dramatically increased level of day in and day out services related to clean and safety at the street level in downtown, which if managed properly, which will be our challenge to make sure we do it right, is if we do that right, then the quality of life will improve in downtown, which will then, in our bigger picture of downtown, will lead to more investment, more job growth, more tax revenues for the city.
And that's certainly what we want and need. So, Bill, some of the types of services that you talked about are provided by the City of Durham, such as graffiti removal. How do the additional services mesh with the services that the city already provides?
Before we went public with the concept of a bid, we sat down with your boss, Tom Bonfield, and Mike Ruffin over at the county to make it sure everybody understood that the idea of a business improvement district is to enhance, not replace city services. And so the heavy lifting in downtown, such as the mowing and solid waste pickup, will remain with the city. But many of the current city services, picking up the trash, planting flowers, wiping down street furniture, picking up litter off the street, etc., will now be taken over by the bid. We will take over and enhance the city services that are already being delivered. Let me put a number on that.
Okay.
Right now, the city has a 6-person crew that comes to downtown a couple days a week, and they spend about 3,000 hours a year doing some of the things I just described. The Business Improvement District team we will be bringing on will be spending 13,000 hours a year doing that. And in addition, we will add new services to downtown. And I think it's wise to look at, there'll be 3 main focuses to this Business Improvement District team. And that'll be on the street. And that is one, they will deal with appearance issues, making sure the trash is picked up, making sure the gum is scraped off sidewalks, making sure graffiti is taken care of, emptying the smaller trash cans in downtown, etc. But they will also serve 2 other purposes. One, they will be the eyes and ears of the police. And they will be trained to work with the police department and trained in ways of dealing with issues such as aggressive panhandling and that. So they'll be the eyes and ears of the cops, secondly. And then thirdly, they will be ambassadors for downtown. So while they're going around, they'll be in nice uniforms, they're going to be keeping the place clean, being the eyes and ears of the cops, but also being a welcoming presence in downtown, directing our visitors to different restaurants, different venues, etc. So it's kind of a three-pronged approach to the job.
Now, is there a company that you're working with to contract to do this? And can you tell our viewers a little bit more about, how this company will actually function?
Before, when the Downtown Durham Board of Directors asked the staff to develop a detailed plan, I and my colleagues spoke with many of our counterparts across the country and to get advice about what should we be looking for in terms of a partner in this exercise. Who should we end up contracting with? And the very good advice we got across the board from everybody was you need to hire a company who has great expertise in executing this type of a program. And there are two main companies that do this across the country. We selected one of them, Service Group Incorporated out of Pennsylvania. We were very impressed that the president and CEO of that company came to Durham to visit with us on multiple occasions to seek our business. They are in cities such as Jacksonville, Augusta, Denver, Washington, D.C., etc. And when we checked the references, they drew very, very high marks for the level of service they provide, the level of training they provide, the fact that they really are invested in the community to the extent, which is candidly a non-negotiable item for me with SGI, is that they will hire local residents for the jobs.
Oh, that's important.
And so I think all those things considered, but primarily we needed somebody with really good experience who can make this a successful venture, and so we chose SGI.
Okay, all right. Bill, can the funds that are raised by levying this new tax on downtown property owners be used elsewhere in the city, or is it just for this bid area?
No, the taxes collected on the bid have to be spent in the geographic area where they're collected.
Okay.
And I think that is one of the selling points to the private sector where, generally we're asking somewhat of an unpopular question. Are you willing to tax yourself? What we found is there is a lot of support for that given the program we've outlined and the fact the money will stay in downtown. But once again, let me, Downtown Durham Inc. over the years, we've never looked at something with blinders on. And I think it's important for the community to understand that if we are successful in this public-private partnership called a bid, then that will free up scarce resources in city government that needs to go to areas that need more help than downtown. And so in some ways, our success in this venture will free up the revenues that other neighborhoods that have greater need can access with the city, which should help all of our neighborhoods. And I think also it's fair to say that, and it has been true, I think over the last 5 to 10 years, that as downtown has seen this wonderful revitalization, people are prouder of our community. We're getting more investment in our community. So we need to have a program in place that keeps that momentum going.
Okay, the big question is how much, and how did you go about, coming up with this number?
We ended up settling on 7 cents. We looked at everything from about 6 cents to 10 cents. A primary consideration was the rate had to be high enough that we would generate the revenues to make a difference. It had to be low enough to make sure that we didn't scare off the property owners, both small, middle, and large property owners, off from a rate too high. Interestingly enough, the rate we chose, 7 cents, is the lowest in North Carolina with the exception of Charlotte. Charlotte has a much larger tax base, so I think their bid rate is about 3 to 4 cents. Ours is 7, but give you an example, Raleigh's used to be 8, used to be 9, it's now 8. Greensboro's is 9 or 10. Most of the cities in North Carolina are actually 20 cents or more, so we're on the low end of the bid rate.
And how much would this generate?
Right now, based upon the personal and real property in the geographic area we're talking about, it'll generate about $390,000 a year.
Okay, all right. That's a substantial amount of money. So what kind of oversight will the bid have, or let's hope?
A good question, because it is, the issue of accountability has come up in the public meetings we've been having, and frankly, rightfully so. And I think one of the things I'm proud of is I think Downtown Durham Inc. over the years has been very accountable to its public sector partners who help fund us. But one of the things we did, which is a little bit different than most bids have done across the country. Most bids have chosen what's called a sunset period of 5 or 10 years. We are recommending a 3-year sunset period. In other words, at the end of 3 years, we want the community to step back and say, was this worth it? If it is, let's continue it. If it's not, let's end it. So 3-year sunset. DDI will be required on a quarterly basis to report to its public sector partners, both the city and the county. Our actions will be subject to the oversight of a board which is representative of the major payers into the bid: large property owners, mid and small property owners, personal property owners, retail and restaurant owners, and residents. We will also have, as we do now, an annual financial audit. We'll conduct an annual stakeholder survey of the people in downtown. We will set up a web page where people can offer their comments, suggestions, complaints, recommendations to us anytime they want. And as always, people are clearly free to contact DDI staff. I think my colleagues are quite responsive to anybody who calls to the office. And I think finally, one of the reasons we chose Service Group Inc., SGI, is because they have an extensive list of providing back data about the work they're doing. Everything from account visits to 90-day audits, how much trash did they pick up, how many customers did they interact with, etc. They do employee morale surveys, they do mystery shopping, and they will provide all of those reports to us so that we can combine them with our reports and provide it back to the City Council. In the final analysis, the City Council is the entity that creates the bid. So in the final analysis, the accountability is through the City Council into contracts with DDI and DDI's contract with SGI.
Okay, sounds like you've given it a lot of thought and have put together a structure that will likely work. But I understand there is some criticism about the bid, and some people have said that the bid is just an orchestrated attempt to make downtown exclusive for businesses and only the businesses that can afford it. So what do you say to that?
And we expect it. After all, this is Durham, which is a very dynamic community in terms of being involved with most issues. And we have received a lot of very fair questions. One is this is such a bad time to be issuing a new tax. This is what is the accountability which we just talked about? How will you have representation on the board that reflects the entire downtown community? I think once again I step back and look at the answer to this in a little bit bigger picture, like we talked about earlier, and I think that I think a bid, if successful, once again will help all of the community, not just downtown. I think secondly, it will free up the resources for other Durham neighborhoods. I think it does. Bids have been proven over time to really increase tax values in downtown and create increased job opportunities. And I think a best reflection of that has been 98% of the bids that have been formed have been renewed over the years. So when you take the bigger picture, I think what we're looking at is using this bid to really improve the quality of life, to increase property values, to make downtown a much more attractive place to live, work, and play. And we believe we can accomplish that.
All right. I wish we had more time, but if people want more information, how can they go about contacting you for that?
DDI has a web page specifically for the bid. The web address is www.bullbid, one word, bullbid.com. So you can go there. There'll be copies of the plan in the city clerk's office. We are planning a public hearing for April 18th at the City Council meeting on that. And and they can just contact our office and we can make sure. But those avenues are out there to gain information, detailed information about the bid.
All right. Bill, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you taking time to talk about this.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Project. All right. We're going to take a quick break now, but coming up in the next segment, we'll hear from 2 Downtown Durham residents and property owners about their thoughts on the proposed Downtown Durham Business Improvement District. We'll be right back.
Butler residents? Everything that gets into our storm drains, soap, pesticides, pet waste, whatever, makes its way straight to our streams and into where you swim, what you drink, and where you fish. Stormwater runoff is our biggest source of water pollution. You're the solution now that you know where it goes.
Welcome back to City Life. I'm Beverly Thompson, your host. We've been discussing in detail the proposed Downtown Improvement District, or BID, currently being considered by City Council for Downtown Durham. Now we're going to chat with 2 downtown residents, both of whom will be affected if the BID proposal is passed this spring. Joining me now to talk about the proposed BID are Partners Against Crime District 5 Co-Facilitator Scott Harmon and Downtown Durham resident Alice Sharpe. Welcome, Scott and Alice, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Beverly.
Scott, let's get started with you. I understand that you not only are the PAC 5 Co-Facilitator, but you're a downtown business owner and resident. When you first learned about the proposed BID, what were your thoughts on the matter?
I supported it right away. I understand that downtown's growing very rapidly, and most small cities around the country have forgotten how to take care of their city centers. It's something we knew how to do very well in the early part of the 20th century, but with the post-war suburbanization of America, we sort of forgot about how to take care of our mixed-use, dense urban environments. And now that Durham's downtown is growing, it has a lot of unique challenges that the city doesn't necessarily have experience dealing with. And the bid gives us an opportunity to create a special district and pay for very particular things that help make this place work well. And so I very much appreciate the opportunity to custom design something that's exactly what downtown needs.
Okay. The proposed tax increase is 7 cents, so you're going to be greatly affected. The additional cost is worth it to you?
Actually, I'm going to be affected fairly modestly. I mean, I think a typical condominium or property valued at, say, $250,000, just as a benchmark, would have their property taxes increase less than $200 a year.
Okay.
And for the services that are being proposed, and also the integration of special events management, marketing, and the cleaning and servicing of the downtown public streets, all of those things being coordinated together, that's a very modest investment in my opinion.
Okay, so Alice, let's turn to you now. You're a downtown resident.
I am.
And downtown employee as well.
I am.
Are you supportive of the proposal?
I am totally supportive of this bid.
Okay.
In fact, Scott and I, along with Richard Morgan and Michael Goodman of American Tobacco, are the co-chairs for this particular movement in terms of trying to educate our fellow residents and property owners in downtown. But I am solidly in support of it because, as Scott has said and Bill said prior, downtown has reached a level, and I've seen it develop over the last 10 to 12 years, that we need to get to that next level. We need a bid to help us provide the services, the day-to-day clean and safe services to help us get elevated to that next position. And I walk to work, I see what's happening in downtown. I know that our streets aren't as clean as they could be, nor are they as safe as they could be, and this bid will help us to provide those elements that'll help us get there. And one of the 4 co-chairs, Michael Goodman, talks about the next big thing. And downtown Durham is now playing on a different level. We're competing with downtowns not only in this state and across the country, but internationally as well. So we've got to step up our game, so to speak. And this bid will help us do it. And I am more than happy to support it through paying the additional property taxes. I have been for a long time a supporter of Downtown Durham, Inc. So for me, I'll actually take a pay cut because what I will pay in additional taxes is not the total amount that I would usually support DDI, the level I would support DDI at now. But I am totally behind
You're a
the bid.
longtime Durham resident. You have a lot of trust. I mean, people trust you when you talk about downtown Durham. But I want to know what you say to business owners who, or just individuals who say that this is more tailored toward the needs of business owners.
Well, I'll tell you what I've said to some of my fellow residents, downtown residents. We've joked about the actual naming of the bid. It probably should have been called a municipal improvement district or a downtown improvement district. In fact, the board even kicked that around, because I think that some residents forget how important it is for these elements, like a clean street, to have lit signage up, to have the ambassadors on the street helping those people who are now coming into downtown, who haven't ventured into downtown in a very long time. That helps when I take a walk. All of those things help the quality of life that I have in downtown. When I take a walk from ballpark to ballpark and the streets are clean and people are out either going to DPAC or going to restaurants, that helps my quality of life. And a very bottom line is that it helps all of us who own property in downtown, because our property values are kept high. So I tell my fellow residents that while it is for everyone, and it's for everyone, not in just downtown, but this downtown is the heart of our city, and it's important that we keep it a rising star, or as we say, we keep it cool, because there are Durhamites who now feel a level of pride in their downtown. And as Bill had stated earlier, we don't want to slip from that level.
Now, what do you tell people who say maybe the tax should be voluntary and individual homeowners should not be necessarily impacted by this? Both of you.
The bid boundaries are actually defined such that a single-family homeowner will not be impacted by this. The boundary's been carefully defined to exclude properties that are exclusively residential in nature, especially single-family homes. There are a few outlying parts of downtown that touch the adjacent neighborhoods, and there was great thought to make sure that those are kept separate. The people who are moving into downtown to live, though, are seeking a vibrant mixed-use environment. This idea of there's residences and businesses it's a 50-year-old idea. It's a segregated idea economically, and that I just fundamentally disagree with. And I think that most of the people who come downtown, either to bring their business or to live, are looking for that rich interplay of business, work, play, and home. And I think that integrated idea is something that resonates with most people down here. I think there are still people who want to think in terms of separateness, but that's really not what downtown's about. And so the proposed boundary fairly takes everyone who's going to benefit and asks them to pay equally and fairly into the investment to get the results.
Okay. Unfortunately, we're about to run out of time now, and I'm going to have to ask you for your final thoughts and to close the show. So, Alice,
I just want to
we just heard from Scott. Go ahead. And
well, I
close
just
it
want
for
to
me.
say that downtown will still be funky. It will still be cool, but it will be clean, and it will look
Funky,
a lot
cool, and
better,
clean,
and it will attract new businesses. And so this is going to be a good thing. We will look back on this and remember us doing this as a red letter day.
So if people want to contact you, how do they contact either of you to get more information, or should they just contact Bill's office?
Well, they can contact Bill's office. I'm a DDI board member, and they can contact me at alicedowntown@gmail.com.
Okay, and Scott?
Great. Please feel free to get involved in PAC 5. That's the PAC that's focused on downtown, and we'd be happy to give you more information about the bid.
Great. Thank you both so much for joining me.
Thanks,
I apologize that our time was so short,
okay.
but good information.
Thanks,
You're quite
Beverly.
welcome.
Thank you. Well, that does it for this edition of City Life. If you have a comment or a future show idea, email us at publicaffairs@durhamnc.gov or call us at 560-4123. You can also visit DTV8 on Facebook and Twitter to find out how to tune into this show, City Hall This Week, and all of the city's program. You can also find us on demand at the city's website at durhamnc.gov/DTV8. I'm Beverly Thompson. Thank you so much for joining me to learn more about city life in Durham.